Thank you, Amadine. Well, to discuss this issue of Nigeria's security in the year 2023, we're joined by the Director General of the Heritage Center, Kach Ononuju. Mr. Ononuju, it's great to see you again. Thank you so very kindly for your time. Amadine has given us a rundown of the security or developments in Nigeria's security sector in the year 2023. For you, which ones stand out, or what would you say are the key developments that have characterized Nigeria's security landscape in 2023?
Well, thank you very much for that question. It's pertinent. One very simple thing, the reasons why there's a difference now from before was because President Buhari was complicit in the killings and in the actions of the Fulani militiamen. Just look at it. Tinubu has come in, and what happened? As they call it, body language. He has told the troops, don't allow such. And suddenly, all over the country, the killings are over. Even in the East, the staged sting operation, also known as unknown gunmen, has also ended. Just the same way the Abacha's killer squad ended at the end of Abacha's governance. Look at in the Southwest, what brought Sunday Igboho into friction with the government? Because Fulani militiamen of the Gandokoyi and Tabate Pulaku elements entered the Oyo Forest Reserve. And then Sunday Igboho went there to say they should leave the Forest Reserve. This came as a failure of Buhari to gain land. Don't forget, he had 7 different schemes to gain land. First, he said grazing reserve. Nigerians say no. He went for cow colony. We said no. He said consolidation of underground and surface water plus embarking land. We said no. All that grazing reserve, he was looking for land, and he was wrong. One, this crisis of refugees occurred in 1974 when Israel invaded East Lebanon. Nigeria quartered the Lebanese people who came as refugees in Apapa and Kanu. When the crisis started in Central African Republic, Buhari became president. It started in Mali between the Fulani and the Dogons. The Fulani refugees came to Nigeria. Instead of Buhari to honestly find a way to quarter them, no. He was looking for one fraudulent scheme after the other to try to put them in Nigerian communities. Nigerians rejected, and that was why the Fulani militiamen started to take land violently on their own. But you can see it has ended now that Buhari is no more there. But despite all the blows that we killed, what we must go on to do now, remove the militiamen in the places where they're occupying indigenous people's homes and villages, whereas indigenous people are living in IDP camps. Such things should not be. We're not on war. Why should Nigerians be in IDP camps? Most importantly is in the sub-region. The war that was all over the sub-region was called as the Fulani Jihad. How can you be doing jihad in 2023? So these are national security issues which Buhari and some within his cabinet were driving. And I believe we should have a commission of inquiry, a judicial commission of inquiry to look into this. These were staged by the state. You've had a lot of soldiers, a lot of military men saying that the killings and the banditry and the Fulani militia thing was being aided by politicians. I will also tell you, Buratai, the chief of army staff, was part and parcel of those who work with Buhari to force the army to stay hands and look the other way. While Fulani militiamen
what's the premise? Kach, I just want to hit on that. You've made a very serious allegation, on the person of Buratai, the former army chief. What's the evidence, or what premise, or what's the foundation, for that accusation? Because it's very heavy, and we would love to back up any accusation of such in proportion with evidence.
Let me tell you now, the military intelligence is one of the very best we have in the country. I knew about the crisis. I spoke to the army about the crisis. I went on television to speak about the crisis. If not for Buratai's cooperation with Buhari into even creating a ranking division of the army that was stationed on the airport road if you're going through Gwagwalada. These are the problems. Why should the army suddenly start caring about militias? The army knew what was going on. That was why you saw the work the army couldn't do. They allowed the militiamen to do in Kaduna, sacking indigenous people in even Kaseda, in Masari, in Dutsima, in Emusa, in Kankara, in Maru, in Anka. As I'm speaking to you, Nigerians there are suffering and living in IDP camps. They were also sacking up to 170 communities in Plateau State, from Riom to Barkin-Ladi to just north and south into Basa and Miangu.
Okay.
They are also fighting Nigerians in the Gembu, the Mambila mainland plains. They are also fighting in Niger State. They are fighting against the Bachama in Newman in Adamawa State. So they were widespread, and the army saw this. The army couldn't do anything because Buratai, instead of being loyal to the Constitution, swearing his oath to the Constitution, no, he became loyal to a politician who is Buhari. And now he's expecting Tinubu to appreciate him for what he did for Buhari and his Fulani ethnic group.
Well, Kach, it's all conjecture. You've still not given us any concrete evidence to back up your claim, but of course, you're just analyzing based on...
I have evidence. I work for the UN. I have the data. Please, if you're afraid to hear me, let me say...
No, I'm asking... Yeah, so
if you think
the data...
snared him.
Yes. I'm saying the data... I'm not afraid, Kach. I'm not afraid.
And they kept quiet, and you say he's not involved.
Yeah, but you've not, mentioned, given us that data here, which is what I would appreciate having. I'm not afraid of anything.
The data is that the killings went on to the extent when soldiers were killed in NDA, to the extent when soldiers were taken from NDA, to the extent where the army jet was brought down in Zamfara. And don't you understand this? And if the army kept quiet, why? Why
right.
did the army
I have your number. I'll call you after the program because we would like to lay our hands on that data so we can expand the conversation. Let's see what you have. But apart from these militias roaming, the country, particularly from the northern part of the country, what are the major, security developments or highlights for you stood out in 2023?
For me, the most important thing Nigeria achieved was getting rid of Buhari. Because once Buhari was defeated, he left, and the militia didn't have anybody to pack them. That's why you see them sacking. And one of the most important things for me was the military alliance between Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, which came as a consequence of the Russian-supported maneuvers. That's what stopped the slow motion war across the Sahel. Whatever affects the West African Sahel affects Nigeria, and that's why you're seeing on a larger scale. That is, for me, the #1 security event. That stopped the war that had been on for 15 years that ECOWAS was not able to stop.
Okay, so let's expand this to the sub-region. How, in your opinion, have regional or international collaborations and partnerships impacted the efforts of Nigeria to address its security concerns in 2023?
#1, we recommended to President Buhari at that time, make sure you get the 2015 peace agreement to be implemented in Mali. If not, if Mali breaks, it will be like a dam. The crisis will affect the whole sub-region. And that was what happened. Because of those people who were sacked in the fighting in central Mali, they now poured everywhere. That was why you saw the militias and the Fulanis who were coming to Nigeria don't speak English. They don't speak Hausa. They were speaking Bambara and French. So these are not Nigerians. And we kept quiet. If Buhari had worked well with the West African leaders to implement the 2015 peace agreement, we wouldn't be here worrying about where to put them. Why are they looking for land if they are Nigerians? Why are they begging for land if they are Nigerians? Every Nigerian have a local government. Every local government is based on land. Even though the country has now crashed and failed, we are still very emotionally attached to the carcass you call land. We love our country, and we don't want foreigners coming to kill Nigerians. That's what's going on. There is no war between Nigeria or any country. No. What you saw in the sub-region was also what was happening here, but it had a different name. It was called in Nigeria Farmers Headers Crisis. It's not true. It was Buhari-supported militia actions to steal land from indigenous people because he couldn't get land to do his ranching, games reserve, Ruga, and all those things he was just talking about for land.
Kach, it's been interesting having you. Like I said, we'll look forward to. I'll reach out to you so we can, have some of that data to really analyze it, and see, the source of what you're saying, and for further conversations right here on News Central. But it's always a thrill having you on our programs, and thank you so very kindly for your time. Merry Christmas in advance. Kach,
thank you very much for having me. Fight for government to return indigenous people back to their villages instead of staying in IDP camps.
Thank you very much.